what I really like about your approach, career approach, from a photography point of view anyway, is generally speaking, I know everyone's different, but generally speaking, when people do go to university, they tend to go to university, study, I guess, enjoy the university experience, and then finish uni, then it's like, okay, now I need to start a career kind of thing. Whereas your approach was slightly different. You started ultimately building your career from the beginning while you were at university from a photography point of view. So you kind of got into uni. Yes, you were studying it as well, but you got into uni, but you started working as a photographer from the beginning throughout your university experience. So then when you graduated, you were kind of ready to go. Like, was that intentional, or was that just simply because you enjoyed photography? Talk to me about like the thought process behind that.
I think it was partially intentional and partially just necessary because, I too had to pay my rent, obviously. And although I did get a little bit of support from my parents and from the state, I mean, if you want to live a certain life standard and consume certain things, then obviously you have to earn some money, and that's just a reality. Like, of course, we are all working to find a higher purpose, but in the end, we are also all working for money. And I think this was a motivation for me to. I think when you're in university, it's a perfect opportunity to start working because you have so many things off your back already. You don't have to worry about, in Germany anyway, you don't have to worry about your health insurance or your public transport tickets, all these tiny little things that you don't have to worry about. And also, I didn't go to university from 9 in the morning until 9 in the evening. So usually I was off in the afternoon and I had a couple of hours free time. I mean, of course, I had to invest some of the time with homework. But in the end, when you're in university or when you're studying, you still have a lot of time on the side. And you can choose if you want to spend that time just relaxing, or if you want to pursue other interests that you have. And I think university is ideal for that because once you're in a building with many different people that are interested in sort of the same thing that you are, so the connecting pool is really great. And then second, you have so many opportunities as a student. You have student how do you call that? You get a rebate on a lot of things as a student, and I think the world is really asking you to participate while giving you the opportunity to participate in with less costs. So I think university is the perfect time to start using your extra time for your extra interests, because once you start working, you will be very focused on getting that money together in the beginning just to keep your head above the water. And in the end, a lot of these dreams that you can nurture in the time of university are falling away when you start working.
Yeah.
So
I think that's so valid. And I think your example is university, but I think for maybe a different example is while you're young and you're still living at home, for example.
Yes.
So let's say you're 18, 19, 20, 21 or whatever, you're still living at your parents' house. As you mentioned, you don't have, you're not paying rent, you're not paying, those extra bills that you're going to have. Like, that's the time to really focus on your craft. But then the cool thing there is you have an opportunity to focus on it through the lens of passion and not pursuing money. And I think that's a great foundation to have. So in terms of photography, what inspired you to get into it? And did you get into it before university, or was it during the university period that you got into photography?
So I got in photography when I was a teenager. Actually, I had always been really into drawing and arts, and generally I love producing things with my hands. So whether it's bookbinding or making stuff out of clay. So generally, I've always been creative in the visual arts and really interested in that. And that's why I also mentioned I would have liked to study free arts and become just an artist. But, you have your parents in the back of your head telling you have to get a good profession or a good job. And we all know the image of the broke artist. So, I think it is important to pursue what you're interested in. Like I said, your passions and
Nice. And then, so as we mentioned in the intro, since starting your photography career and then graduating, I think you have worked with a client list that a lot of young photographers would love to be able to experience, right? And we kind of named them all in the beginning, and there's many more than that. This is a very big and open question, but like, how do you get to a point where you can work with this level of clients and this level of brands as a photographer?
I think in any creative job, it is really important to realize that you can be the best artist in the world, you can be the most creative genius in the world, but nobody's going to know about it if you don't show the world. And I think this is the great opportunity of our time back like 50 years ago, or even 20 years ago. You really had to show some stuff on paper to prove your profession. But nowadays you have media outlets like the social media, and you can do your own website like this. It's really easy to show the world who you are or who you want to present yourself as. And just being aware of the fact that if you put things out there, maybe only a few people will look at it in the beginning, but people will look at it. And if you stick with your productivity and you stay humble and work on yourself and not constantly look to your right or left what others are doing, but really trying to pursue something that feels real and honest to you, then people are going to notice. And that was what happened with me. With photography, I started being interested in it because I was drawing a lot, and I had a really good art teacher in high school. And for one project, we did a photography project, and I took some portraits. And it was the first time that I got a compliment from this teacher. He was a really grumpy and very critical guy. And it was the first time that I actually got a compliment for any of my work from him. And this stuck so much with me. This impressed me so much that I thought, okay, this is worth pursuing further. So don't underestimate the compliments that you get from wherever they come. I mean, I also gotten some compliments that were career changing for me, from sometimes from children even, or from, not people that you're expecting from, but something that clicks in your head that gives you a different view of what you can do and of yourself. And so it is really important to stay open and humble and always not trying to put your work into your service, but into service of others. So, that is a way of, generally as a freelancer, you should stop feeding your own ego, because it's going to be, your creative ego is going to be there anyway. You don't need to feed it, especially, you just have to react to it. And trying to share your passion with other people is much more fruitful than trying to just show off, if you know what I mean. So I think it is, for young creatives, it is important to realize that the world is watching if you wanted to watch. So be aware of how you're showing yourself. If you're super critical of your work and you always put it down, then it's going to have this image of you as well. And if you're super egocentric about your work and you only see yourself, then also that is going to be realized. So I think just be open and be willing to share and willing to collaborate with people.